Welcome to NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series, where we focus on how financial advisors work, live, and give to their local communities and our greater financial services industry. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, everyone. This is Chris Gandy, and we're actually live at Congressional Conference. And welcome to Advisors Today podcast, where we feature all the top leaders in the insurance and financial services industry. I'm here with our wonderful co-host, Suzanne Carawan. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Chris. Hi.
Great to see you in person.
Yes, great. I know, to be in person. First live podcast we've done.
Huh. Who knew? So, Suzanne, can you tell us a little bit about our sponsor today?
Yeah, so I'm delighted to say that we are here at Congressional Conference, which is the largest association fly-in for insurance and financial services professionals. So today's podcast is brought to us by NAIFA Advocacy. We are the only organization that does state, interstate, and federal advocacy, and we're delighted to have over 500 guests attending today. We'll go to the Hill tomorrow, and we'll probably hear a little bit more about that as we talk to our guests today. So
we get an opportunity to talk to one of the gurus of NAIFA, no other than Mr. Larry Holzberg. Larry, how are you today?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Suzanne. I'm wonderful. It's great to be here. Excited to be going up on the Hill tomorrow, represent the 75 million people we represent in our industry and our consumers and clients. And I'm excited to talk to everyone about what NAIFA does.
So those that probably know Larry, Larry's done a ton for NAIFA, and he's done a ton in the industry. And it's wonderful to hear from him since he's been on both sides. He's been a producer, he's been in management. He also has led NAIFA through challenges and transitions and opportunities. So, Larry, we'd love to hear from you. Where are we at NAIFA? Where are we? What are we doing? Why are we here in DC for such a wonderful opportunity?
It's probably the most exciting time I've been around NAIFA in my career. We changed how we do business over 5 years ago, and we did it on the run. We built this plane and took it off while it was still operating. And we've transformed a loose organization of 600 different chapters into one voice that speaks on behalf of the advisor, the financial advisor, the insurance agent, and most importantly, we represent the clients. And to do that while serving without stopping is amazing. What we have accomplished to make a better advisor, a better ethical environment for people to do business, and to be able to serve clients in all 50 states is remarkable. We have an incredibly talented team, but the most important thing is we have a network of advisors, almost 20,000 people who belong to this association, who every day roll up their sleeves and do what's important for financial security. And it's just an honor and privilege to help take this organization and steer it in the right direction. Hopefully you leave it a little better than you found it. And I think we've done a great job in doing that. And we have set the course now to accelerate and expand what we have accomplished. The industry has taken notice. When our members go up onto Capitol Hill tomorrow, they'll be noticed because the leader of the United States Senate has on his calendar, NAIFA is in town. Think about that. Not every organization that comes to town has that. That is an amazing opportunity to spread the word of what we do and why we do it. Because, we used to say we represent Main Street. Every street's a Main Street, be it small town in Florida or Wall Street. We represent the American people on Congress tomorrow. And it's interesting, our good friends, the ACLI, the American Council of Life Insurers, in their releases and when they visit Congress, they talk about what NAIFA has done on the Hill. So it's a remarkable organization. We don't bang our chest about it a lot because we do the good work, but it's really an honor to have been involved and help move the organization forward.
Well, you have the best role, right? You're now the immediate past president that we call the IPP. So can you tell us a little bit about how you actually get to become the national president, like what that journey is and how your role now?
It's a long journey, and my journey probably started like a lot of people. I went to a local meeting. I was invited to a local meeting. They invited me to attend the board meeting, and they needed a volunteer, and I noticed 5 people stepped back, and I was standing there. And literally, that's how I got involved in programming in Suffolk County, Long Island. And you start getting involved, you meet people. You'll find out in this industry, in our organization. All the things we do are great. It's the people we get to work with. And you slowly get involved. You expand. I taught LUTCF, our training program. I got involved in state politics. Before I knew it, I was on the state board. Kind of had the opportunity in New York to try to do this one NAIFA in New York, where we got rid of chapters and everything and did it from the New York top down. We reinvigorated New York. As an old New Yorker, I kind of had the attitude of when I didn't like something, I said something. And, you know, we're going to talk about Terry Headley today. Terry Headley and Matt Tassi took me aside one day and said, you know, it's easy from the back seats to complain. Step up and do something. And when we had the QME membership experience and we reimagined what NAIFA was like, I served on that. And the next step was to be on the board. And it goes from there. And I had the honor of going through the chairs. I'd like to think the immediate past president is the best job. I think the one that starts in January might be a little better. But it's my goal as immediate past president to maintain momentum. We have the office of the president, which is what transformed our organization. A lot of organizations, the next president goes on their tack or her tack. We have an office of the president that keeps consistency of mission. Styles can be different, purposes can be different, but Brian Holz's, our current president's mission is the same exact as mine. Tom Cothran will be the same way. We created that vision, and it's very important to continue that. And as immediate past president, you support that. You're also the one responsible to make sure past leaders stay engaged. The key to a great organization is learn from those who came before you, involve them. They believe in what you're doing. So I'm spending a lot of time reaching out and working with the past leadership, honoring our past presidents and other trustees who showed the way. And you know, you have to give back. This is the greatest industry in the world. I'm very fortunate for the career I've had or having. And this is how you give back. You experience it, you share it, and you tell people why they should be in this business, because there is not a better industry that I know of.
You know, Larry, we're here at Congressional Conference, and we get a chance to talk a little bit about how we're going to kick it off, right? And so over the last year, I've chaired kind of the DEI kind of initiatives and thoughts. Can you share with us, you know, represent, we're here, we're live. Can you share with us a little bit kind of your perspective and the importance of DEI and really kind of how we make that part of our DNA?
Well, and I think it was Cammie Scott, a past president, who started the DEI symposium and talking about it. What I love about what we do is we don't just talk about DEI, we're implementing it. We have to, you know, sometimes the person who doesn't look like they should be involved in DEI is the best messenger. Our organization needs to, and our industry needs to look like the rest of America. And there is talent, and there are quality people everywhere. And we were so late in our industry. The biggest failing in our industry is we did not put our arms around making sure women came into financial services. One, they're better at it than we are. They really are. They understand. They have a built-in empathy that most of us gentlemen do not have. And they're understanding in how they communicate. They're leaders in the world in business, and people want to do business with people they know and understand. And for this industry to expand, we must look like America. And we have to go to communities we haven't gone to. And we have to serve communities that are underserved because they need our services more. We fought the DOL fiduciary rule so lower and middle class people would have access to advisors. So if we don't go there, why did we do that? And we have to understand that there are different ways to come into the business. We have to embrace a World Financial Group who may market their products and services differently, but are vitally important to meeting people. The fact of the matter is, I think the numbers, there are 250,000 Latin American advisors in this country who we have to make sure we represent and help them expand their community, the African American community. I mean, quite frankly, the smartest person in the room at our board meetings is sitting to my left. And the education and the opportunity he's showing us is amazing. And it's not, if we do not do that, we're foolish. And we're not foolish people. So when we started this initiative and now have really committed to doing it properly and expanded what it does, it is opening the eyes of everybody. How important is it? Every member of our executive committee is going to be here introducing our speakers because it is a commitment of this organization to expand it, to expand the industry, and to expand the culture of belong to everyone.
Well, Larry, being a part of that committee, I always talk about the difference between an interest and a commitment. Is when it's convenience. When convenience is set aside, we always find ourselves in situations where we have a choice. And those choices typically are to embrace and move forward, to uplift, or we can be in a situation where we could be very controversial and divide. So when we started, I think we're starting on the right foot. I think we're starting with a unique proposition of let's include everybody, and we move forward. So now everyone comes in the room, congressional conference, everybody's super hyped, super excited, wearing flags, and we're going to do the national anthem, and jets may fly over, and,
Right.
hopefully. But when we now get a chance to engage, let me take a step back. We get a chance to actually learn what are the key items currently right now in Congress, that's in the Senate or in the House, and some of these bills, kind of what does that really mean? And how is it that as NAIFA representatives, people out there can get engaged at even if they're not here at their local level, how can they learn from something like this?
Well, there are a couple things to learn. One, it's not as necessarily what's the bill that's in Congress today or the bill that's in the House or everybody's preoccupation with the debt ceiling going on. It's developing the relationship with those leaders, those legislators, and their staffs for the bill that may be coming or the situation that may be coming or a bill that doesn't appear to have anything to do with what we do. I guess the biggest threat to our industry today is not taxation of the inside buildup. It's something called the PRO Act, which is a well-intended bill to protect workers' ability to unionize and be protected. On the face of it, something we would not...
Good idea.
Good idea, but when you drill down the way it's written, it would basically make essentially every advisor a full-time employee with any company they hold a contract with. Now, people say, what does that matter? Well, we're independent business owners. We don't want to be locked in to be an employee of a company. One, with all best interests involved, that's not consistent. Two, it's not the best way to run a business. And so you have to go up and explain, here's why it's better to have an independent advisor. Here's why we should not be considered W-2. Quite frankly, protecting the interests of our advisor, if every insurance company had to make me a W-2 employee, they would probably cancel a number of their contracts and benefits they provide us for us doing the work we do. Situation was similar in California. They had the same bill because of what NAIFA members did on the ground. And they learn it here and then take it home in grassroots. They went up to California, and California put an exemption for our industry. That's why you have to learn about this stuff. So when you hear something local, we're prepared for it nationally. Or if you see it nationally, we prepare for it locally. State of Washington passed a long-term care law. Another well-intentioned idea. The impact was almost every major long-term care company pulled out of the state. Product was sold that was not great. Advisors couldn't protect. And it had negative impact on the people they were trying to protect. That prepared us in other states when it comes up. Kentucky, another great example. Revenues are hard everywhere. Kentucky came up with an idea to raise some revenue. They were going to charge sales tax on people's financial plans. So you encourage people to do the work, do the planning, meet with someone, and then charge them an 8% sales tax. Well, because of NAIFA nationally working locally with the NAIFA Kentucky team, that went away. So it's always vital, and you don't learn about that if you're not engaged. I mean, we all get too many emails and things like that. I'm guilty as anybody else. I don't open every email, but if I see a NAIFA advocacy email, I know I have to open it because something important is happening. And that protects our clients. Our ability to be in the industry, our ability to serve our clients is vital. And that is why we do what we do and how we do it. And you can't do that if you don't spend the time, get engaged, and meet other people. And the other bonus you get out of it is you get to meet incredible people, and just sitting, having a cup of coffee, you'll learn something from someone, take it home, and it'll help your business and make you a better person.
I think partly, though, people are apathetic. I think they think that, oh, okay, so NAIFA's out there doing that for me. I don't need to be involved. Like, that's a lobbyist. I don't need to do that. I mean, what do you say to all that? I mean, yes, we have 20. We are by far the biggest. We're the oldest. We're the one and only. But it's 20,000, and there's a sea of 300,000 agents and advisors out there in the United States. So, and we spend too much, we don't beat our chest enough. We don't tell everybody everything we're doing nearly enough. I think because we're always so busy. NAIFA's constantly working on the next challenge, right? Constantly. So what do we say to all those people out there, that are apathetic, that aren't paying attention, that don't see the connection between what they're doing every day and all of this, why we're here?
I would challenge every one of them to give us 1 year. Try it for 1 year getting involved. And if you can honestly tell me that your business isn't better, your knowledge isn't better, your network isn't stronger, don't come back. I get it. But I guarantee that will not happen. Why get involved? It's pretty cool that I have a client or agent I work with comes into my office, and he sees pictures of the 6 or 7 congressmen and senators I know.
Huh.
That's pretty cool. I actually, I have on speed dial on my phone members of Congress that I can call. And more importantly, not that I can call, that they have called me to ask my opinion of something.
Huh.
That information, that ability it changes your life. It changes your career. You become a resource. You become more respected. And then I'll give you the unpolitical answer. With all due respect, you can't afford to be a freeloader. Because if you take the attitude that someone else is going to do it, see nothing, say nothing, bad things happen, I don't care what spectrum you're in. And in this industry, we have to stand up and be heard and understand what we do. We're a lot like Congress. No one likes Congress. 95% of the people hate Congress. 85% of Congress people get reelected. We're kind of considered that in our industry, but I've never met a client who really didn't like their financial advisor, didn't have a great relationship. So we have to stand up, tell our story, and be heard. Because if not, when something you don't like happens, you have to look in the mirror. So it's part of being a professional, is being engaged and being involved. Now, and what I would remind people is we have a code of ethics as a member of NAIFA, the only trade association in this spectrum that has that. That's important. Tell people about that. We do business a certain way. We do business in a way that is right, ethical, and in the best interest of our clients. We did that before they talked about the fiduciary rule. We did that before any best interest. That's why ACLI partnered with us to pass good legislation in every state on annuities in the Best Interest Model Act. We do the right job the right way. Get engaged, have a voice, make sure we continue to do the job right. And hold us accountable. Our members should hold us accountable and be engaged. And events like this and the DEI Symposium, we're changing the industry for the better. Open up your mind, do something that's uncomfortable, get to know people who are a little different than you, and you'll be a far better person, and you'll enjoy the experience a far better amount.
Larry, we've talked about the DEI Symposium. We've talked about getting engaged. We've talked about getting off your butt and starting to be active. We've talked a little bit about grassroots. Can you talk about the experience that you had? Because you had a very unique, let's call it pre-presidency and presidency, right? Because you're Mr. COVID, right? So you
I don't know if I want to be Mr.
You're Mr. COVID, right? And so you had an opportunity to experience leading during a pandemic, right? Or coming out of a pandemic, kind of that timeline. Share with us a little bit about what was the most difficult thing for you to do Share with us that, and then share with us, how did you do it?
So one, the most difficult thing to do is when you're used to interacting person to person, that's how you built your whole career, and that stops on one day. The world stopped. What was really unique in what we did was, and it's one of our new programs at the time, was something called NAIFA Live, which was basically our first foray into the webinar business. We took that chassis, I think it was the third day after the world shut down, and the NAIFA Executive Committee started doing weekly town halls of what we were doing, making sure we stay connected with our members, working through the process, to provide value resources. We're gonna have over 500 people today. We had, I think, 600 or 700 do our online congressional conference that year, which was only 6 weeks after the start of COVID. We were walking and chewing gum at the same time. We were planning a virtual congressional conference while still trying to plan an in-person conference because we were all told it'll be 2 or 3 weeks, we'll go back to normal.
Flatten that curve, 2 weeks.
To flatten that curve, 2 weeks, we'll be back. We're not gonna get out of it. Now, luckily, the smart planning we did and how we did it put NAIFA in a very good spot because we took advantage of the economic situation. It ramped up our technology. It ramped up what we could do in a virtual world. We found a way to touch people. We had our main educational event went on via Zoom also, and we had great turnout. But we were very good at making sure we kept our relationships, spoke to our membership, kept our relationships on Congress. We taught people how to do business differently, that Zoom is okay. And I don't think we realized we did that for our members until after the fact.
Right.
As we've come out of COVID, luckily, the lessons we learned on how to do work electronically are still there, but we've also realized getting together, being with people, getting live and doing it in a safe and effective way is really great. I think we were one of the first major events coming out of COVID that was in person, was our first National Leadership Conference, which was when I had the honor of being installed as president, or as Suzanne likes to say, begin of my reign. But it was remarkable, and we did it safely. We did it in a wise way, knock on make-believe wood. No one got sick, but we understood it, and we kept our sense of community. And I think that's the most important, was we kept our sense of community, of an organization and an industry. And I give a lot of credit to the insurance industry in total of how they handled COVID and how they were there and how they made underwriting decisions and other things to make sure our policies and products were available to them. I mean, we do great in terrible times to help people.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, going back and thinking about that time, the first town hall we did had 150 people. The next day was 300. I mean, it was exponentially growing. We had 1,000 people by the end of it because we realized, and people that hadn't been engaged with NAIFA, but they came back and said, you know, now I need my professional association. Who else is supposed to do this? And I think one of the most remarkable things was we had just launched our consumerfinancialsecurity.org. We had just launched, we thought it was the greatest thing. We launched it February 8th, you know, turned around, here comes March 13th. We completely changed it to just become a resource to all of Congress so that Congress could say, you know what, their constituents are calling them. And we said, you know what, no problem, Congress, we got you. We just filled that financial security with content. And Congress just said, you know who you need to call, or go to the website at NAIFA, look at financialsecurity.org. They can help you. It was a magical thing to be during that time.
And it takes time.
We made the call.
The United States Senate Committee on Aging last year released a report. The only organization that was quoted, that was probably not a government organization, they quoted NAIFA and what we do in the senior marketplace. That education to them over that period of time. And quite frankly, let's be honest, when the world shut down, we all needed something to do. And we were there to re-educate and remind our members of what we do, how important is what we do. We became resources for them. We expanded our educational footprint because the companies weren't able to do it. And we really became a great footprint. And now you'll notice, I think we have 25% more people at ConCon this year than last year. So people are becoming more comfortable to come out. They're being comfortable to see it. We had an incredible event last summer called Apex, our new educational event. Great turnout in the Arizona Biltmore. And our members are seeing the value. And the value is greater than ever. And those who haven't seen it will. But how we also do that is we have to diversify our industry. We have to get younger. We have to bring younger people in. Suzanne's one of the people pushing us the hardest in our Young Ambassador program. We have to go into the colleges and the high schools and talk about why not only being financially secure and smart about your business, your life is important, but why a career in financial services is the most rewarding career they can go to. And we're doing that now.
So, Larry, in my previous life, I'm a recovering athlete, so, in my previous life, I played basketball, and that's what you mentioned is the ability to pivot. NAIFA pivoted. It didn't get 3 seconds in the paint, like some of the New York Knicks. Larry's from New York, so we won't have Nick comments. We may have a couple of them.
Well, when you played basketball, you actually had a dribble to move. Now you just run.
Or walk very slowly.
Very slowly, yes.
So we were able to pivot, and what you're reminding people of is we took the offensive, right? And so we had the ability, those who don't follow sports, but we played offense versus defense and waiting for things to happen. We were proactive. And then the aggressor in those situations, which typically wins the game in sports, right?
Yes.
So, with that being said, Larry, we have a couple more questions for you. I want to make sure we're good on time, Suzanne. So, Suzanne will make sure that we're not crazy on our time. Yeah. So, Larry, grassroots, from a concept, it sounds cool, right? Grassroots, how things kind of get started and unique and fresh and grassroots. So I want to hear your perspective on grassroots, and I'll give kind of my point of view and Suzanne, we want to hear yours because it is so important. Everything starts with the seed, right? Yep. And so I want to get your comments on that, and where do you see grassroots? How do we get involved with grassroots? Why is it super important?
There are two parts of grassroots that are important. I mean, I think, and why we say grassroots is, it is like we plant a seed. And if you don't nurture that seed, the grass won't grow. If you don't take care of that seed, it's going to die out, burn out, overwater it. You have to take care of it and watch it and make sure it grows properly. Give it a little fertilizer to make it healthy. So the best way for grassroots is you have to get someone when they're new to something, or when something personally impacts them. Unfortunately, that's the reactive one. But when someone's new to the business, you have to go there and explain to them, I understand you're going to try to put food on your table. It's hard to get involved. It's hard to get into an industry, get involved in the industry. When one, you don't think you know anything, and two, you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. But the grassroots of taking that young advisor or an experienced advisor and help mentoring their business career, and then teaching them the other things that impact them, they get involved. They get excited. They see the benefit. Our grassroots years ago used to be a monthly breakfast or lunch. It's changed. People interact differently. So you have a webinar, you do a NAIFA Live, and then you have a social marketing event, a networking event. And you go over and talk to that young person and say, here's what we do. Here's how can I help your business? What can I do to help you? I've always found it's easier to say, it's much easier to go say, how can I help you? Or instead of saying, I need you to do this for me. You put your arm out. And then to get someone involved, you say, I need your help. Can you help me? I think you're sitting here because a number of us came to you and said, we need your help. We saw what you did in Chicago and helped build a local. We saw what you did with your business career. We saw that you did it differently. Mm. And I said, how can I learn from you? So I think that education and getting to know people and spending time brings people together. It is a sense of community. I was, I have the privilege of being media past president. I was at a Broward County, which is South Florida, local association meeting. I think half the people there were shocked that I actually went. But I said, spend time talking to people why it's important, why something that's happening is important. There's a law pending in Florida now about can they or can they not require certain genetic testing for underwriting. That affects everybody. And what people don't realize, it doesn't only affect the underwriting, it affects people's health.
Yeah.
Someone may not want to go get a test before they buy their insurance because they're afraid the test results, which doesn't mean a guarantee, may cost them money there. So it becomes very personal. Grassroots is personal. How does it affect you? And down on the local level, which could be meeting your congressperson there, it's personal. They listen. It's relationships. We may do it via Zoom. We may do it differently, but we're in the relationship business. Grassroots is about nurturing that relationship and explaining to people why it's important and how we can do things to help each other's career.
Perfect. Suzanne, I mean, your thoughts on grassroots, because you are approaching it also from a different perspective.
Yeah, I think I want to hit on something you said earlier, and that is, it has to come from, I think you need somebody to bring you in. I think you need to get invited in, so people need to be able to reach out and say, you need to come into this grassroots piece, right? I'm going to take you to a meeting. I'm going to take you to an in-district. I don't think most people just do that on their own. I think there's a fear factor. I think it's intimidating. So I do think people need, but I think people are not aware of how accessible our elected leaders are. I mean, they are there for their constituents, and they want to hear from you. And I think once you can get over that barrier, I think that opens up. But I think the other thing you said, Larry, that's so important is that there's a cultural component, and something's changed in the insurance industry over the years. Something has diminished. It used to be there was an expectation that you're going to be involved in your professional associates, an expectation. Of course, you're a business owner, right? You're in business, you're in politics. You're going to get involved in grassroots. And I think we need to bring that back. And your leadership is saying, listen, this is just what you do. You don't have to wait to get involved in grassroots. Right when you're saying they're new and young and excited, get them involved right then, right? Because that's something that then you need the longevity, is what Larry's saying. The relationships there, it's a long-term thing.
On the political side, you'll see most of our leaders get dressed the same way we do in the morning, do the same things. What you see on TV, the leadership of the world, is very different on one-on-one. Most of our leaders are good people trying to do the best they can, who listen and understand. One of the things that has hurt our culture of joining is, I think it's the fear from our companies. They're afraid that if you meet Bob, who's different than you from a different firm, you may be going somewhere else.
Right. And maybe poached. That's in our industry.
Yeah, we're going to poach. And I've always said, no one's walking out the door if they weren't already on their way out.
Right.
What they lost and don't realize is that the sense of community of the industry actually helps retention, helps the company you're with. And if you're not defensive and you understand not being defensive and proactive, you running your own agency, the companies, you can learn from others and implement it where you are. And I think the companies are starting to see that again. Also, their resources are more limited, so they can't do all the developing and training. So those opportunities that we have, that we're spending time now and helping people build the practice, understand it. I'm not telling you what product to serve or how a product works, but how to market yourself. This is something that was never done. We are doing that in this organization. So we're providing tools and resources for the younger person in the industry to have an opportunity to learn from the best. We have to continue to do that, and you can't be afraid. It takes time. It takes time. It takes 3 to 5 years to build a career. It's going to take a lot longer if you try to do it by yourself. And it's our responsibility of those who've been around to go sit down and say, how can I help you? Because that same person might be intimidated to go visit their congressman, is more than intimidated to go visit the number one producer in that office. That young gentleman's afraid to walk into her office and say, tell me how you did it. She will be more than willing to do it, but won't think to knock on their door to say it. Don't be afraid to knock on someone's door and say, can you tell me how you did it? Can you tell me what you do? We do this for 3 reasons. We want to make a good living. We want to provide things for our clients, but we also have egos. And ego is not defined only by the money you make, it's by what you've left behind. I've had a very good career. I love my career. If I was not involved in NAIFA, no one would have known I was here. I might have left a little ripple. By being involved in this organization, not me personally, this industry leaves a much bigger impact. So you get to join something that makes you bigger than yourself. But don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't be afraid to share.
You know, Larry, I spend a lot of time in the medical community and developing clients there. And, you know, I see grassroots for NAIFA very similar is the concept of when they transition from being a student to being a resident, and a resident to being a fellow. It's the concept of do one, see one, teach one, right? And so that concept goes very far, because by doing, you're actually doing the work. By teaching, you're helping somebody else, because, you know, how do you become a masterful? It's something you have to be able to teach it to someone, right? And then also being able to learn, right, as you do it, right? So that concept, and if we take that concept and kind of embrace that, we'll start to realize that continuous culture, that opportunity of really that green pea or that person or attracting somebody into the business. I think we were on a podcast recently where someone said the comment of, we've got to get back to attracting people to the business, because when we look around the room, there's less and less and less. I mean, that's the next pandemic. There's less people out there helping people with the things that are important in their lives and protecting their families. So we have to do a better job at doing that. One last question from me. Suzanne, you may have another question for Larry, but question for me, for you is that now that we're here, we're at Congressional Conference, what's the future of NAIFA look like? I mean, inspire us. I mean, give someone out there kind of, you know, here's where we're going, here's where we're at, here's why you need to love NAIFA.
Wow. Last question, 10 seconds.
Well, it's not really the last. It's the last question, but I think it's a pointed question, because where you left it in the hands of a capable gentleman, but you didn't leave it based on next year.
No.
Right? You left it based on, here's the vision for where we're going, and we want to create something dynamic and fantastic.
As I said in our executive committee board meeting on Saturday, we cannot look 20 minutes ahead of ourselves. We have to look 20 years out of what do we have to look like, where do we have to go? And that's our mindset. We're actually the only organization I know that does 5-year strategic planning and actually opens up the book and says, where are we going? And we're coming to the end of the 2025 strategic plan. What we are doing and how we're doing it is this. One, in working with corporate partners, we have become much more recognizable on the state level in advocacy. We are the premier organization for advocacy. That will never change. But we're building a stronger stool of providing resources and services. We have learning centers in NAIFA that people don't even know about, that if you just demonstrate and touch them, will make you a better advisor. So we now have a 4-pronged stool instead of a 3-pronged stool of what we provide. So we advocate, we educate, we differentiate, and we network. And network's important because that's the community. And we're going to just take that and step on the accelerator pad of expanding it out. We're introducing something called the Industry Leadership Board that Tom Michael, past president, and myself have spearheaded over the last 2 years of bringing in the best in the industry, C-suite level people, insurance companies, RIAs, independent marketing organizations. We're having a meeting Tuesday to talk about where is this industry going and how do we do it together? So we're not reactive to what the industry is doing. Let's talk and have a serious conversation about what does distribution look like and how do we get there together? So we're putting the resources together to make sure we have more people coming into this business. We're working in partnership with the industry. It's not just insurance companies, it's investment advisory firms. Financial services means many things. We're talking to banking. You may not believe in reverse mortgages, but we need to know about them. So we have one of the thought leaders in reverse mortgages on that organization. That's what we're doing. And luckily for people like with you, our good friend Jamie Hopkins, who's been on our board, we've learned how to use social media to expand the touch of financial services. That's where we're going. We're doing it quickly. Our bloodstream is advocacy because of what it does for our clients. We will be, I will assure you this, in 10 years, the most consumer-recognized organization for financial security. That the consumer will recognize what we provide to them, that we are a resource, and that we've done things to build it and make it better, that when they go to someone, they're going to ask, are you a member of NAIFA? Because I want to deal with someone of NAIFA. That will happen in the next 5 years. That's where this industry and association is going.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you.
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
It's time.
I don't know if we have any facts out there, but as we move to the lightning round, Larry, so here's a rule of thumb. The lightning round is I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You'll probably get them like, what's your name? What's your wife's name? You'll get those. But the goal is that, people see Larry Holzberg and they say, oh, that's the president. Hey, here. But they don't really know Larry, right? And so I've gotten to know you, and you're fairly unique in that way. So we'll see how much you share with our NAIFA audience here. So you ready to go?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll start off pretty easy. You're from New York, right? And so Chicago pizza or New York pizza?
New York. My brother lives in Chicago, so I have both. New York.
Why?
There's something about a crisp crust.
Is that what it is?
That is what it is.
So, Larry, we're in Washington, D.C., I noticed a little bit about food, right? Favorite place to eat here in D.C.?
Oh, the board can tell you RPM.
RPM.
RPM Italian.
Why?
Great food, great environment, cool setting. In fact, it's just always on top.
Got it.
Always solid.
Because you're from New York, the Yankees or the Mets?
Mets.
You didn't blink. You didn't blink twice about that.
My gosh,
Mets.
that was just
The Mets.
boom.
Why?
I like to suffer. So the next question is yes to Jets.
Yes.
The next question is, are you excited? It's never been the most exciting time of your life, but you are getting a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers now. So how do you feel about that?
I am totally excited. I'll show my age. So the Jets won the Super Bowl in 1969. The Thanksgiving before that, they were playing the Oakland Raiders. It was called the Heidi game, which basically was the game was close at the end, and they went to this TV show called Heidi, which was a family show. I wanted to watch Heidi. I didn't know, right? I was 4 years old. So, yeah, am I excited? Yes, I'm incredibly excited. But as a Jet fan, I just wonder when he blows out his knee. But yes, I am excited.
All right, what's next? So, Larry, last couple in the lightning round is, what would you go back and, you've had a ton of experience in the industry and also serving. If you could go back and tell yourself, your 20-year-old self, something about this journey, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Same thing I told my kids, and I didn't realize it soon enough. Enjoy the journey. We're so concerned about getting to that destination.
Yep.
You never reach the destination. So enjoy the journey. There's going to be ups and downs and difficulties, but enjoy the journey. I'm lucky I've had someone to share that journey with me since I'm 17 years old, but enjoy the journey.
If you could go back, last question, if you could go back in time and have dinner at RPM, right? And with someone in the past, whether they're living now or they've lived in the past, they could be a celebrity, they could be a president, whoever. Who would you go back and have a dinner and a conversation with?
Wow. Martin Luther King.
Why?
Because he saw better in everybody.
It's good.
And I could have learned the lesson sooner.
Yeah, good. So, Suzanne, do you have anything else? Larry, great close.
Larry
man.
just made me tear up. That was great. Nailed it.
Thank you.
Great answer.
This was fun.
So, Larry, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for you.
Love you, brother.
Thank you.
We are family here at NAIFA, where we come together and we uplift each other and we promote the future of leaders here on Advisor Today podcast. Tune in. I'm not sure we're going to get a chance to do another one live, but thanks, Suzanne. Thanks, Larry Holzberg. I would give you a round of applause, but we don't have an audience here. But thanks for tuning in, and thanks for coming out, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us for NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series. Make sure to subscribe to get future episodes. And if you're interested in coming on the show, let us know.